That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Harry stretched out his arms, lifted the egg in his wet hands, and opened it. The wailing, screeching sound filled the bathroom, echoing and reverberating off the marble walls, but it sounded just as incomprehensible as ever, if not more so with all the echoes. He snapped it shut again, worried that the sound would attract Filch, wondering whether that hadn't been Cedric's plan. And then, making him jump so badly that he dropped the egg, which clattered away across the bathroom floor, someone spoke. "I'd try putting it in the water if I were you." What's up, potheads? Welcome to the Restricted section, the show in which a bunch of nerds with potty mouths reread the Harry Potter series for the umpteenth time and discuss the way the story and its themes have stayed with a generation into adulthood. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't done the reading, don't worry, we did it for you. Here's what we're talking about this week. Chapter 25, The Egg and the Eye. In this most stressful chapter, Harry follows Cedric's advice and takes a nice bath with his mysterious screaming egg. Moaning Myrtle helps him figure out that the mermaids are going to steal something from him and he'll have to fetch whatever it is from the bottom of the lake. No big deal. On the way back to the common room, Harry gets his leg stuck in a trick step and then it's just an absolute shit show. Filch finds the egg and thinks he's caught peeved stealing from a champion. Snape comes along in his nightie, more worried about someone going through his office. And finally, Moody shows up and he can see Harry through the invisibility cloak and helps him get out of that incredibly tense situation with probably no ulterior motives. Welcome to the Restricted section where all the stairs are tricks. You literally can't go anywhere. I can't complain today because I am joined by my abstracted friend, Leila. Say hello to the listeners, Leila.
Hello, listeners.
Do you know what abstracted means?
Abstracted?
Yeah.
No.
This was definitely one I found through this thesaurus. It means showing a lack of concentration on what is happening around one.
Aw, it's like my diagnosis. I love that.
Found a new word just for you.
Thanks.
And I am beyond stoked because our special guest today is the one, the only Madeleine Bundy, set designer, costume designer, and prop designer for the play Puffs. She also played Harry Potter, Susan Bones, Moaning Myrtle, among other characters. Say hello to the listeners, Maddie.
Hi.
We are so excited to have you here. Would you mind telling our listeners a little bit about Puffs and your other work?
Yeah, absolutely. So Puffs was this off-Broadway show that me and my friends did here in New York City, where I currently live for now. And we did it for about like 5 years, way longer than we ever expected to. It started at the People's Improv Theater. It moved to the Electra, and then we were very lucky to get moved up to New World Stages. And then that production was recorded, and you can now find it on various platforms such as Amazon and iTunes. Like you said, I played Susie Bones, Myrtle, and Harry, and then I also designed all the physical elements, so the props, costumes, set. I did not design the sound or the lights,
but just about everything.
Yeah.
We're going to try not to make you blush too much, but honestly, Leela and I, along with our friend Mott's, covered Puffs on the podcast over the summer. So if you haven't listened to that episode, please do. And I was mentioning this a little bit before we started recording, but damn, the Hufflepuffs don't get any airtime in the Harry Potter series except for Ernie fucking Macmillan and his stupid big mouth.
A little bit Jay Finch.
Finch, and then also
bit.
Cedric. Must not forget Cedric.
Of course.
But truly, when Leela and I both watched this for the first time, we just felt so seen. The tone is completely different.
Yeah, that's where the idea came from, which is like, it felt like that house felt like the most mysterious.
It's just because they're not getting into anything.
Well, and it's also like there's something felt like they're in the basement No one, I think there's I don't remember, oh my gosh, I don't remember what book it's in now, but there's the detail about how, like, no one's been in their common rooms for, like, it's something like 400 years or something. So there's also a mystery of, like, what does it look like in there? And they have a reputation for being, you know, kind, but there's some snarky little bits in there too. So I don't know.
I get it because even though I'm a Hufflepuff, I can get super snarky when my friends are threatened. And honestly, when Ernie Macmillan was spreading those nasty rumors about Harry, it's only because his BFF Jay Finch was threatened, and I get it.
But also the Gryffindors are kind of annoying, so I guess I also get it.
I just couldn't agree anymore.
I'm a Gryffindor.
Oh,
so I
okay.
can...
Well, I'm so sorry about the diss I just said then.
No. There's a reason why I'm a Gryffindor. Stubborn.
So you're stubborn. What else about being a Gryffindor?
It's sort of that Ned Stark, like, constant need to, like, stand up for the right thing, even though you're gonna get your head cut off. It's like your heart's in the right place, but it's like sometimes your tactics are not, I don't know, always the wisest decisions.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your very Harry history. Like, when did you get into the books? When did you get into the movies?
I feel like I got into the books, like, pretty much, like, you know, in the 90s when, like, everyone else was getting into them. And I was super into them. And I think for a lot of people, especially if you were a kid in the 90s, it sort of started your love of reading. And, like, so yeah. I started reading I got excited about other, you know, especially fantasy series, I think because of Potter. I will admit that sort of, like, when the later books started coming out, like, you know, 5, 6, 7, I started to slow down a little bit.
Understandably, they're like 700-page long books.
Well, and I think at the time it just felt like, oh, I've waited so long for this one. I don't remember what happened. Am I gonna have to reread I have to reread everything to, like, make
Thousands
sure I'm caught up.
Yeah.
I think it was just I kind of like got into other things, and then getting to do when Matt Cox and a bunch of my friends and I decided, like, we were gonna make this Hufflepuff show. I think that there was something really exciting about not just revisiting it as an adult, which is a totally different experience, but revisiting it as like research, like, oh, like you can kind of put your important hat on of, like, oh, I have to read these books and watch all these movies because, you know, it's very important research, and I have to go to the theme park because I need to learn things.
I do the same thing running this podcast. I'm like, it's for the greater good.
But when you have that mindset, you do see things in a different way, and I think you do notice details in a different way, especially from a design perspective. There were just very specific details that, like, I don't think I would have noticed even if I was just rereading it as an adult. That was fun. That was, like, it was just fun and exciting.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And yeah, that really does parallel the experience that we've had doing this podcast, reading the books excruciatingly slowly and, like, nitpicking every line. There's a lot of opportunity to catch stuff that you don't catch when you're trying to blow through a 700-page book in a couple days.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being here. We're just so excited to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
So before we get into the chapter, we have some owl mail. I wish I had a little, like, jingle, but instead I just sing it.
I'll make one for
hoot,
you. Know
hoot.
I'll record one for you. Oh, no. Wait, do it again.
Hoot, hoot.
It's perfect. Crushed it. This owl mail is from our friend Motts, who, as I mentioned previously, was also on our Puffs episode over the summer. I think that the subject line of this email was, like, more math in all capitals or something like that. So thanks for the math, Motts, I guess. Motts writes, "Hello there. I have a question or several regarding everyone's favorite thing, math, especially Wizarding World math. Everyone loves that, right? Right? Anyway, according to the Harry Potter Wiki article on Wizarding World currency, 1 galleon is worth $6.64. The reward for winning the Triwizard Tournament is 1,000 galleons. 1,000 times 664 is $640. Everyone in this fucking book talks about how Triwizard Tournament reward money is this crazy amount of money. Like, would you risk your life for $6,640?
But they're kids. But they're like children. So sorry.
It's quite all right. Moss goes on, I know for a fucking fact that I would not. Like, Harry gives Fred and George his winnings to start a fucking business at the end of this book. If you take into consideration the fact that they also use some of that money to buy Ron a new pair of dress robes, nope, I don't buy it. I know that in the grand scheme of things, the mathematical inconsistencies in the series are fairly insignificant compared to some of Voldemort's other crimes, but it really frustrates me when it doesn't add up. I hope everyone has a wonderful day in spite of my best efforts to ruin it for you. Love you all. I have the honor to be your obedient servant, M. Fur. That's our friend, Motts, with the math.
I'm just saying, like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, $100, wow. So I think if you were in high school and you were told, like, yeah, if you do this, we're going to give you $6,000. It sounds like a lot more.
I'm remembering a Bob's Burgers episode where the
I love
9-year-old
Bob's Burgers.
I think she's 9. Louise, they're like, we'll pay you $10 a day. First of all, that's the weed episode where
the weed episode, yeah.
Where Grandma and Grandpa, I don't remember their names, are like,
we couldn't afford to pay you much. Just say $10 a day.
$10! I can start saving for my Porsche Cayenne.
Negotiate.
So I think you're right that this probably feels like a lot of money to the kids.
But also, what are these, like, the wizarding kids, like, what, they just want to go into town and get a soda. Like, that's all they want to do. They want to go get butterbeer. Like,
I think that's a really valid point. But I also think that Mott's point about would you risk your life for $6,000 is like a great point because it's a lot of money.
They all stopped and like had a conversation about it. They probably, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
If anyone at any time stopped and had a conversation about the Triwizard Tournament in this book.
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it's insane. What? No. No, we're not. Hey, we're not doing that. Hey, we're just like, what are you going to do? We're just not doing it.
We're not doing it. Yeah, the leadership is like, we've had so many meetings about this. I think Karkaroff specifically is like, after all these meetings, this bullshit happens. And it's like, what were you talking about at these meetings? Dragons and how to come up with measly $6,000 for your winner.
Brings up an excellent point. And relevant to Puffs because Oliver Rivers loves math.
Right.
So it all ties in.
I think I was complaining about math in the episode before last, because I mean, Voldemort is notoriously bad at math, but it's like, come on, man, like just get a calculator. Whatever, we don't have to get into it again. Thanks, Motts. Thanks so much for the fucking math. I almost said moth. Well, let's move on to the chapter. We're here today to talk about chapter 25 of The Goblet of Fire, The Egg and the Eye. Which this is a chapter that I pretty much completely forget about between readings. And when I revisit, I mean, obviously the whole prefect's bathroom thing is like very classic, but the second half of this chapter, I always forget about it completely. Yeah. And when I get to it again, I'm like, oh my God, this is so juicy.
Yeah, this is one of like the juiciest chapters that we've read so far, for sure.
It's like extremely stressful.
Yeah.
I find the whole chapter stressful.
It is. I think probably the familiarity of the first half of this chapter, I'm like, well, I know how it goes. It's going to be fine. Just a little sexual harassment from a ghost.
I feel so bad. Sorry, you can go into you can go into the summary, but I just feel so bad for her.
I know.
I always forget that, and I'm like, oh man, this poor kid, like.
Maddie, did you say you watch Bob's Burgers when I brought it up?
I do, yeah. I love Bob's Burgers.
Moaning Myrtle reminds me of if Tina Belcher got murdered and stayed a ghost as herself forever.
Yeah. Well, especially the movie. I actually, I re-listened to the audio recording and I reread the chapter. So
nice.
It's like, because I think you get different perspectives, but especially Shirley Henderson's adaptation. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. Harry's like, fine, I guess I'll take stupid, sexy Cedric's advice and take a stupid bath with this stupid egg.
He's so suspicious of him. So, I forget that too. I'm like, he's like, nah, I don't know if I trust him.
I know, and it's just because he's butthurt, and like, honestly, how dare you? Cedric's integrity is rock solid.
I know, especially after rewatching Puffs again last night. I just like, I'm like, Cedric would never. Don't talk about him like that, Harry. Don't even think about him like that.
We did talk in our Puffs episode about how I vastly prefer Cedric in Puffs to Robert Pattinson.
You know what? I'll tell James that. He'll love
Please
that.
do.
Oh my God, do it.
Like, that is a Cedric that I think is like a leader. Like, people can get behind that Cedric. Like, Robert Pattinson is just like, no one's going to follow you anywhere. Like, no one...
Honestly, that's true. James is great. That's true in real life. Everybody loves him. He is kind
I'm so
of a
glad
real,
to hear that.
He is a real life Cedric.
Yes, that makes me so happy. Unrelated, his portrayal of Voldemort is extremely excellent also.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We were often getting comments like asking if he was doing a Tim Curry impression. I don't think it started out that way. I think he does have, because James has such a beautiful voice, and I think sometimes when he's using his sort of like upper register area, you know, it just he does kind of sound like Tim Curry. But I think after he heard that, he kind of like leaned into it a little bit.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But
when we were watching last night, my husband was like, oh my God, like, he needs to be cast as Frankenfurter. Like, now.
I think
he'd be good at that.
Cheekbones are similar to, it's the cheekbones help a lot.
You're right.
Yeah.
The cheekbones and the attitude. Yeah.
Yep. So, Harry goes to the prefect's bathroom, which is sexy. It's like a bougie hotel pool. It's like definitely not a kid's bathroom.
It has a diving board. I forgot that.
It's like a nonsense thing because like is it a pool or is it a bathtub?
Both.
It's both.
Is it like specifically for orgies or is it like optional? Because to me, an
castle's
unsupervised
got all sorts of crazy rooms.
And
who knows what the original purpose of all those rooms are.
This was originally a staff orgy chamber, but they
I
gave it
don't
to
know.
the prefects when the prefects unionized.
It's very old. It's a very old building.
Like, the sexiest room in the castle. Like, it has sexy bubbles. Like, it has cool art. It's all private. You need a password to get in.
the mermaid window. The mermaid,
yes. Yeah. And, like, I would never be naked in here because anyone could just walk in unless I was specifically seeking an orgy. Then I would be naked. I know, this is a weird question, but, like, could he go into the water with his clothes on? Does he have to take off his clothes? Like,
of course, that would never occur to Harry. He's like, naked time. But, like...
He needs, like, a James Bond, like, terry cloth onesie.
Yes. I can't get naked. What if that's not what I do here? And it's like, this is a bath, you have to get naked. But someone would walk in and be like, why are you naked in this very public room?
It's a terrible realization. Have you ever been to the doctor's office, like, and you took off, like, one too many clothes?
No, because I'm the kind of person who asks. I'm like, do I have to take it all off?
Well, now I am.
Let me just swaddle this crinkly blanket across myself while I wait for 30 minutes for the gynecologist to come in.
Yeah. Oh, God. I think it was the gynecologist. She was like, ma'am. Oh, it was a different doctor's office because, they'll do a breast exam. So they're like, take your bra off. And so wherever I was, I took my bra off. And they were like, ma'am, that was not necessary.
You're like, oh, this isn't for the appointment. I'm coming on to you.
I'm like... Yeah. No, I was like, wow, I wish I was dead and I'll never get naked again.
I just think that if I was like a nurse in a doctor's office, I would just never say anything.
Yeah.
I would be like, oh my God, thank you so much. You look great. Let me just check you for scoliosis or something. Perfect. Crushed it. You can put your tits away now.
It's true. Not great bedside manner.
You think in a place where they'd seen it all, they'd be like, oh yeah, whatever.
Cool. Exactly. Exactly.
That's what you wanted to do.
I tell myself whenever I go to the gynecologist. I'm like, whatever's going on, they've seen it. My vagina's doing great. Thank you so much for asking. So he gets in this public bathtub, butt naked, and he swims some laps just to like get the stress out.
They can't see me because it's a podcast. I'm dog paddling.
You are dog paddling,
Yeah.
and in the book, he's like, I don't have no fucking idea how to swim, so I'm sure that's exactly what it looks like.
I forgot that too. That it was like, oh, the Dursleys didn't teach him how to swim.
You absolutely must teach children how to swim. It's like the easiest thing to learn. You don't have to learn how to do like the breaststroke, but it's super easy to learn how to like
keep your head above
not
water.
die in the water, you know?
I don't know. My parents tried. I failed a lot of swim classes.
I think that you're probably more buoyant than you think. You don't have to do the, I don't remember any other names actually other than breaststroke.
Freestyle.
Freestyle, yep.
Butterfly.
Butterfly.
And the
What's that
backstroke.
one? There's one that's like a frog leg one where you like put like one arm forward and one leg backward.
That's the breaststroke.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I thought that.
Interesting.
I don't know. I can't do any of them.
Okay, so we're not swimming. God, I should have had Michael Phelps on this episode.
Damn it.
I was actually on a swim team. I was fine. I was like, I'm not like, I want a ton of stuff. I was fine. It was an after school activity.
Nice. I would always go with my friends to their swim team meetings. What's it called? Practice?
They're meets, right?
Meets
No.
and
I wouldn't go to the meets because I was competitive. I would only go to the practice because I didn't have a pool.
They were intense.
Yeah.
I'm
It
from
was intense.
so I'm from Alaska, and so it was like a big deal up there. 'Cause, like, there's a couple indoor sports that become a really big deal. It's like all the kids that don't want to be outside
Yeah, I
get
it.
really intense about swimming and like tennis.
Cool. I did not know that about Alaska.
Oh, and Irish dance. There's a lot of Irish dance up there.
What? That's so random. Is there a big Irish population there?
I don't. You know what? I don't know. You know,
Interesting.
I knew a lot of kids who were really intense about Irish dance.
We have to know now.
Thanks for learning something that I should know about my state.
There is about 10 or 11% of Alaska's population and the total U.S. population are Irish. And just for the record, that is the research that I did when you type something into Google and then don't even open a page at all. You just see what Google says first. So,
That's how I researched, so that's fine.
Maybe that's right. Maybe it's not. Wow, that's fascinating. But Harry has never done any of this. He doesn't do extracurriculars except for Quidditch, which hasn't taught him
He's
anything.
not an Irish dancer.
No.
He'd probably be so good at it.
I just want to know, so he says when he's in the bathroom, he could tell at once that they carried different sorts of bubble bath mixed with water, though it wasn't bubble bath as Harry had ever experienced it. Like, come on, the Dursleys never gave you a bubble bath.
Maybe he watched so sadly while Dudley got a bubble bath.
And that's how he experienced it. Oh, now I'm sad.
Resisting the urge to make another Bob's Burgers reference here. So finally he is like, all right, it's egg time. And he opens the egg. And this is our favorite moment in Puffs.
Yeah.
When the egg screams.
Oh, that's that's the voice of Matt Cox.
Really?
Is it?
Yeah, well, because he did the music was done by our friend Brian Hose, but Matt Cox is the sound designer.
That's awesome.
So sometimes he'll just record something himself because it's just faster than like asking someone else to do it.
Yeah, I get it. And wow, great scream, dude. Because
It's a great scream.
It's just so
We're
fucking
a loud
funny.
we're a loud group.
Gosh, we would be such great friends.
Did he do a different scream, for different performances?
I think there were a couple, especially early on when we were, the stakes were really low and we were like, oh, whatever,
Right.
let's try something. I think there were a couple shows where he would try some random sound effects, including some different screams, and it would be like, oh, no, we have to go back to the other one. That did not work. That was not funny. The audience did not appreciate that. Let's go back.
The
let's go back,
laugh-ometer wasn't quite as high.
The point sound effects. There was a phase where we had shows with just different point sounds, because I think it's
So
just
funny.
a ding, but there were shows early on where we tried, and it was they felt weird and wrong.
Interesting.
Because sometimes the simplest answer is the best solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a book editor, and I really try to get my authors to understand that. I'm it's really cool that you used 30 words, but I can actually do this in 4 words. And can I recommend that instead?
At one point, At what point we use the Gene, I think it's Gene Wilder, the you lose.
You lose!
That it is from Charlie and the
Yeah.
Chocolate Factory, right? That is what that's
Yeah.
from. I think we used that for a show, and it was so uncomfortable. But it became an inside joke in the cast for like 4 years.
Okay, good.
You lose, and it was like that's one of those things. That's like people overhear you, and they're like, "What are they talking about? They're crazy."
There's just no way I could.
If you knew the context, you think it was really, really funny.
It was worth it.
Do you ever find yourself making like inside jokes that you had with friends like 10 years ago with your like current friends?
Yeah,
and you just
yeah.
like look around and you're like, oh no, none of them are left. Oh no. Like my college, I make like college jokes all the time.
I'm the only one.
Okay, so attracted by the naked Harry and the screaming egg, enter Moaning Myrtle.
Hello, Harry. Hello.
Perfect, crushed it.
Crushed it.
I say enter, but I guess she's been there the whole time. Just
yeah.
watching
Oh yeah,
him.
you know she has. She's been waiting for students to come in.
Like, I know that this is obvious. I'm going to say it once and then we're not going to, like, discuss it. But, like,
Okay.
This is wildly inappropriate, like, sexual harassment behavior. So Myrtle is like, yo, put the egg in the water, you dumbass. Because, like, why else would you be taking a bath? Harry opens the egg under the water and it's like, it's not screaming anymore because it's underwater, but it's, like, bubbling. It sounds like melodic, perhaps. So he puts his head under to listen, and it's a song.
She still has to tell him to put his. She's like, maybe.
No, he's a fucking idiot.
Maybe he's like, I can't hear it from here. It's a little muffled. Get under the water, you sweet dumb baby.
Sweet dumb baby needs lots of instruction.
Yeah.
He should have looped Hermione in so long ago about this whole egg situation.
Yeah. What is he thinking?
Nothing.
She's the problem solver.
Just a tumbleweed going through his brain. So it's a song from, well, okay, no, we don't know what it's from. It's just a song, and it's like, we're gonna steal your shit, and you're gonna have to come get it.
Yeah.
He has to listen to it 4 times to memorize it, which I don't buy that. I think it would have to be like 15 times at least.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think you could memorize this in 4 listens?
No,
No.
especially when you're stressed out and there's someone leering at you. Like
Leering. Absolutely. So then once he has it memorized, it takes him like an agonizingly long time to work through the riddle. And like, it's just that like, maybe if he was like reading this riddle, if someone was like in the common room, like, hey, Harry, here's this riddle. It's like, huh, weird. But like, come on, man. Like, they're underwater. But when they're underwater, they sound like humans. Like, it takes him so long. But great. It's mer people.
She says, I can't do it, but she says, slow, aren't you? And I just wrote in capital letters, yes!
Yeah. Yes. He's just not great at, like, percolating. Like, he's not good at, like, having himself, like, a think. You know? He only gets, like, strokes of dramatic air quotes genius, and he just, like, acts impulsively. He's not good at, like, let's figure this out one step at a time. That's what Hermione's for. So Harry asks Moaning Myrtle how he is supposed to breathe under the lake. And she's like, oh, great. Oh, sure. Just breathe, why don't you? I'm dead. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be insensitive. But, like, she's been dead. It, like, I feel like she maybe should be coping better. What are we thinking?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends. What is the ghost logic in this universe? Like, do you develop beyond, you know, where you died? Like, do you learn new things? I guess I don't understand a lot of the ghost rules.
I, like, hope that the answer is no, because otherwise, as you mentioned previously, like, Moaning Myrtle is, like, kind of inexcusable unless you take, like, an Arrested Development perspective on her.
That's how I always read it, was that she was kind of stuck.
Yeah, and that's why it's extra interesting that the actress that portrayed her in the films was what, like 35 when she played that role?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Matt when he was writing the first draft, and I was like, you have to let me play the Shirley Henderson part, one, because I can do the voice, but also I'm obsessed with this actress. I have been watching this actress in Masterpiece Theater things since I was a kid, and I think she's so cool.
That is awesome.
I love when she pops up in The Friend and things. I think she's the friend in Bridget Jones. I think that's the one.
Really?
Is she? Yeah, I think so.
I haven't seen that movie, and it's only recently been added to my list. I just recently learned that it's a Pride and Prejudice adaptation.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm like, I gotta get in there.
That's why. Yeah, that's why it's Colin Firth, because the joke is that he's the famous.
He's the same
Darcy.
guy. Yeah. I do get it now, but when I never knew what it was about, and I was like, oh, it looks like a rom-com.
like any comedy, there's things that don't age well because comedy doesn't age well.
Sure.
But as a rom-com / kind of a Christmas movie, it's very entertaining.
I agree.
Interesting.
And I think her set of like friends, sometimes the friends of the main character are like, shmeh, like, Devil Wears Prada. It's like, these friends are like, they're all over the place. They want her stuff, but like they want her to quit the job, and they're like, you've changed. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with her friends. She has like a good set of friends in Bridget Jones.
Yeah.
It's a good support system.
And I mean, I'm not British, so I'm not one to be able to comment, but I think she does a really good British accent.
I think she's fine. I don't know. I don't know what
it's passable to me.
I don't know what they think across the pond, but
Yeah,
that's true.
We'll have to ask our one British friend. Well, I meant, I was going to say, the podcast only has one British friend. We have lots of listeners, and I just don't know them. Shoot me an email. I'd love to meet you. Okay, so finally Harry works out that the mer people are going to steal something from him, and he will need to retrieve it from the bottom of the lake. Cool. Are you glad you figured that out, buddy? You feel good now? You feel nice and peaceful inside? Everything's fixed? No. It's only escalated the problem. So Harry's like, well, fine, fuck. He leaves the bathroom. When he checks the Marauders map to see if the coast is clear, he's like, cool, the coast is clear. But he notices Barty Crouch on the map. What the fuck?
Mamma mia!
Barty Crouch has been calling... I don't know if calling out is the right word, but he's been like not attending the Triwizard stuff that he should be attending. I think it was just the Yule Ball so far. I might be wrong about that. He might have missed something else, but he's been like Percy Weasley divulged, and also Ludo Bagman, that he's been too sick to come to work, and he has been sending in owls with instructions, and Percy Weasley, for better or for worse, is in charge now. So Harry's like, why is he, if he can't make it to these Triwizard events, like, why is he fucking creeping around Hogwarts in the middle of the night? In Snape's office.
Highly sus.
Extremely sus. Extremely sus. I'm trying to, like, figure out a joke, like an Among Us joke, because that has, like, a map thing, and you can, like, see people on the map. I can't quite connect the dots, but, like, insert your own Among Us joke here. So Harry's like, I'm gonna go investigate / go to bed. Classic Harry shit. He's like in a daze. He's like thinking about how the fuck he's gonna get to the bottom of the lake, obviously. Like, I mean, yeah, that would preoccupy me too. He's not really paying attention. So on the way down a staircase, he forgets to skip a trick step. And so when he steps on it, I think it like disintegrates or like was never there to begin with, really, or like something.
It doesn't say. I don't know.
Yeah, he sinks into the step like up to his thigh. Like my absolute worst nightmare when I'm walking around the streets of, I don't know, New York fucking City, and there's all those grates everywhere, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm going down. Okay. Would you guys be able to remember where all of the trick steps in Hogwarts were?
No, they're all moving.
Yeah.
They do move.
Get somebody to fix them that isn't poor Mr. Filch.
I know that, okay, I know the movies are very, like, there's a lot going on that they have to cram into the movies, and the movies are already long. I feel like there's elements of the castle that we definitely, like, lose.
Yeah.
In the movies.
With the stairs specifically, like, in the books, the stairs at Hogwarts are, like, tricky in this way. Like, sometimes they are, they have trick steps. Sometimes they are, like, leading you somewhere that, like, isn't real, or, like, they're just pretending to be, like, a solid wall, but they're actually stairs.
It just doesn't make any sense for, like, kids who are trying to get to class. It doesn't
like, at all. But so the movies are we don't have time to convey that. So instead we're going to create this story tool of these moving staircases so that we can weirdly get the kids to the third floor corridor in the Sorcerer's Stone. So the stairs don't rotate in that way in the book, but they do move around and trick you. And I really feel like Hogwarts just has this spirit, has this energy that no person can fix. Like you kind of mentioned earlier, Leela. I don't think these are fixable. I think if you fix one, it'll show up somewhere else.
Yeah. Magic.
Yeah.
It'd be tricky.
I'm just gonna spell it out for you. So Harry, imagine you're just daydreaming after a nice bath where you're mildly sexually harassed and you're just wandering so snugly through the school thinking about death because you're gonna die at the bottom of the lake, and you walk onto this step that seems fine. No, you go straight into it. You sink in up to your thigh. You drop this super heavy egg that you're carrying. It clatters thunk,
oh my god,
thunk,
yeah,
thunk,
it's just
thunk,
really
down the stairs.
God, it's really terrible. It stresses
It's
me
terrible.
out.
I think it says like a bass drum down the stairs. It bursts open and starts screaming. It's screaming. He drops the Marauders map, which is still on mode. It hasn't been wiped. It's just on. It's like dropping your iPad with your journal open on it. It's no. And then the invisibility cloak starts to fall off him, and the only thing he can do, and thank God he does, is catch the invisibility cloak and make sure it's covering him. That's all he can do. And he is stuck. And the egg is screaming. Let's just take a moment to mourn Harry in this moment because goddamn. How funny would this have been in the movie? It would have been so fucking good.
Yeah, it would have been great. I just there's so much. It's everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah, in a split second.
Yeah. And that's how it be.
It's about to get worse because Filch comes running and screaming about Peeves. The fact that Filch is so obsessed with catching Peeves is actually a huge asset to the students because he's so willing to believe that anything that happens was Peeves. Because this isn't the only time. I kind of forget when it happens, but Harry's about to get written up for something in Filch's office, and someone knocks over a big dress. I think it's the Vanishing Cabinet, actually. Knocks over a big piece of furniture, and Filch goes running off and is Peeves! So, good for them, I guess, that Filch hates Peeves. Filch finds the egg, and he's it was Peeves who did it. He stole this from a champion because he's laser focused. Just so many things happen. Okay, so then enter Snape. You thought it couldn't get any worse. Filch is Snape, it was Peeves who did this. And then Snape is what? Peeves couldn't get into my office. And then Filch is what? But as a reminder, Harry saw on the Marauders map Barty Crouch going through Snape's office. So someone was going through Snape's office, and Snape knows. So then Snape is Filch, help me look for my intruder. Fuck your intruder. Let's look for my intruder.
Yeah.
But Filch is super focused on Peeves. It's actually these really action-y segments of the book where there's very little commentary to do. It's this shitty thing happens.
He doesn't do magic. So it's isn't it just the energy's got to go somewhere?
Filch?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is his one thing. Peeves.
I also feel bad for him. If you were running around this school and you you're amongst all the these people doing all these tricks, and it's oh god damn it, I have to be
Absolutely.
here, but I can't do any of this.
He's either a super sad character who's a squib, and he this is the only place that he could be in the magical world,
and he cares for and he clearly cares for animals. It's something he has in common with Hagrid.
He cares for at least one
animal. That's enough for me.
But we also have a theory that, is Mrs. Norris even a cat? Or is she, his sister or his ex-wife or something?
The theory of her just, not being a cat and being some other kind of maybe, magical creature, I think is, it, there's a little bits in this chapter that sort of back that up. He's cats can see through the invisibility cloak, but, it's just the one cat, though, so far, that can see,
I actually can't remember if Crookshanks could see through the invisibility cloak, but Crookshanks is also canon part Kneasel, so it's like we're getting into some messy territory here with like what are cats in this world.
Oh, but also on the Marauders map, like Mrs. Norris is the only one who shows up, animal who actually shows up, and she shows up with like a weird human name, you know?
Wait, okay, not to keep contradicting you, but I think Crookshanks shows up on the Marauders map.
Does he?
To the internet.
To the internet. I literally think there's a passing comment where Harry's like looking at the Marauders map and he's like, Crookshanks was like terrorizing something in some room. Okay. Does Crookshanks show up on
We have to know.
Marauder? I always struggle to spell Marauders. The cool thing about running a Harry Potter podcast is that everything that you are wondering, someone else has talked about before.
Absolutely. Like Star Wars. Like,
yeah,
it's out there.
Yep. No, that was the amount of time I allotted to researching that, and I couldn't find an answer fast enough.
It had a nice song though.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
That's my research music. Okay, enter Mad-Eye Moody, and this is when it gets really good. Like, this would have been so fucking good to see physically in a movie. But frankly, this chapter is very well executed as well, with this slapstick kind of like, I hesitate to call it slapstick humor because it's very tense and scary, but like, it's pretty fucking funny too.
Slapstick. No, it can be both.
It can be both.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for your professional opinion.
I don't know how professional it is. I just
more professional than me. Mad-Eye Moody's magical eye can definitely see through invisibility cloaks. Like, he looks up and he's like, "What?" And Harry's like, "Hi," under his invisibility cloak. But Mad-Eye Moody is on Team Harry. So Mad-Eye Moody's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing here? I don't see anything with my magical eye. Why'd you ask?" Moody and Snape go back and forth quite a bit, going back and forth about like what is going on here. They're talking about how Mad-Eye Moody has searched Snape's office. So clearly there's no reason that Mad-Eye Moody would have been in Snape's office tonight, right?
Definitely not.
According to all of our evidence. Harry's like, "Yikes, this really hurts. I hope they wrap this up soon."
Like, his eyes are brimming with tears from the pain.
I'm trying to like imagine, I guess it's just like the weight and like the angle of like how he's being suspended. Like, if one of your legs is like straight down and the other one is like sticking out, like, I guess that would probably not be very comfortable. Maybe there's a little cojones pain going on here as well that the book doesn't allude to, honestly.
True. If it's all the way up to his thigh.
Yeah, it might be dangerous territory. So anyway, Moody's like, "Hey bro, you dropped something," and he points to the Marauders map to Snape. He's like, "Snape, you dropped something." And Snape sees it and is like, "I know what that is." But Harry's like, it's mine. Non-verbally. He's aggressively gesturing in perfect silence to convey that that's his. So Snape's like, "I know what that fucking is." But Moody echoes it to himself instead and is like, "Oh, that's mine. Sorry, I forgot." Even though I came in from the other end of the room and this makes no fucking sense. Like, none of this makes sense. Snape and Moody both know that doesn't make sense, and that's not what's happening here. It's like literally just the power dynamic between them that gets Moody out of this situation, pretty much. Yeah. Would you agree?
Yeah, because, you know, there's the power dynamic of like, I know what your past used to be, and like, I love putting away dark wizards. Yeah.
And all of the darkest lords.
And all of the darkest of lords.
There's, rumors about Potter shows maybe getting made for the HBO Max. Do we need like a show about all the drama between the teachers and all their tension?
I would love a workplace comedy like The Office, but it's the teachers of Hogwarts. That's genius.
Yeah, and you should definitely be cast in that show, Maddie.
As Moaning Myrtle.
I don't think I'm probably on a list. I don't think they want me.
It's kind of hard to remember when you know everything about Harry Potter, like we do on this podcast. It's kind of hard to remember how little they know about, like, Team Voldemort in these first couple books. Like, as a reminder, we only learned what a Death Eater was in this book. Harry was like, what the fuck's a Death Eater? And, like, to us, that's so obvious because it's, like, such an important part of the rest of this series. But right now, we don't know what Mad-Eye Moody means when he's like, there's some, like, marks that never come off, right? Mm-hmm. Severus, some pretty dark marks on your body that, like, never come off, hint, hint. Like, we have no idea what he's talking about here. Mm-hmm. And a couple chapters ago at the Yule Ball, Harry saw Karkaroff, like, flashing something on his wrist. And Harry's like, whatever could this be? I have no idea. So, like, we don't know what that is yet. And that's just, like, so mind-boggling to me. I don't know. How did Harry come to Hogwarts and learn that he had this history of defeating this dark wizard? How has he gone to 3.5 years of history classes and he doesn't know anything about Voldemort at all?
It's sort of the struggle of having a protagonist like this go through such a long journey. We're following him through such a long journey. He has to be surprised by new things constantly, and it's probably a way that would be unrelated. You'd probably learn all this stuff a lot faster if you were actually exposed to this, new universe. But but like, we're following him, so he always has to be like, what is that? Oh my gosh, this room is amazing. And it's like, you're still amazed by things? It's book 5. Like, come on.
It's true. And you definitely just vividly reminded me of your portrayal of Harry Potter in Puffs, and that
is partly like where it came from, which is like he has to be constantly just like wowed. That was part of like the idea about the characterization.
Yeah, I mean that really came through. I love that interpretation so much because he really is just like floating through Puffs, just like being confused, being delighted, fucking shit up. Like, it's just really floaty.
The other thought that was always in my head was sort of like this kind of Mary Poppins mentality of just like walking in and fixing things magically, even without any context to what was happening in the room. Right. That was also like kind of where the idea came from.
I love it so much.
Yeah. I just think it would have been so easy to make him like kind of like a douchey character, to make Harry like kind of a douchey character.
Come back for Order of the Phoenix.
We talked about that, and I think there's definitely people that would interpret it that way. My feeling was like, honestly, like we talked about how like we were doing a lot of impressions of the actors, and we felt like it was kind of mean to do impressions of the kids who are learning how to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
that's true.
The 3 of them got like, I mean, they were very good at the beginning, but they got so much better near the end.
Yeah,
and
I completely agree.
I feel like you can really see Radcliffe at the beginning of the series, like really trying to do a good job. He's like trying to get everything right. So the idea of like kind of making fun of that or disrespecting it in any way just kind of felt like it was not in service of the purpose of what we were doing.
That's not very puffy.
Yeah. It's
not very puffy. Yeah.
Yeah. On our Puffs episode, I know Tina and I we had to pick like who our favorite Puff was, and we both picked you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just because, just like all of your portrayals.
Specifically, I picked the Harry portrayal.
Specifically, the Harry portrayal.
Very funny.
Yeah, it's just like, it's not only funny, but it's just like, in a word, endearing. Like,
yeah, it made him so much more endearing of a character than this whole book series. And I think you bring up a really good point, Maddie, that like Harry has to be this dumb or else he's a stand-in for the audience. And I think that is the tragic flaw of a lot of protagonists in general.
Yeah.
Is that they have to be in this role of like, I'm a vessel for this story. And so they suck. And you find it all the time. I can't think of any specific examples right now besides fucking Frodo. Hot take.
I mean, having like in general, and it's not like it's not like you can't find examples of when this works. Having a protagonist that is not excited to be there or is like I don't know why I'm doing this. Like that's that's hard. This is hard to write. And I think that's why book 3 for me is kind of the strongest through line with him, because he has this tangible want. He's just trying to get a piece of paper signed through the whole thing.
That's the plot of book 3.
He's just trying to get because he wants to go get a soda with his friends. And through that, you know, he discovers this, you know, father figure, brother figure, whatever you want to call him. But like,
both.
but all of that stuff is like pushing him through those chapters. And I think a lot of the, and not that I don't enjoy the other books, but I think that's where they sort of struggle for me. Is like, I'm not quite sure why he doesn't really want to do the tournament. Right?
No, he actually does not at all want to do the tournament.
That's just hard to write.
Yeah, and it's hard for us to get behind because as he's succeeding in these things, we're like, hey, babe, we would have done something different 10 chapters ago so you weren't even in this situation. I'm thinking about, there's one of the chapters is called The Four Champions, and it's the chapter right after his name has come out of the Goblet of Fire, and it's the chapter where he goes into like the side room off the Great Hall, and they're all talking about if he should be allowed to participate or not, and he pretty much doesn't have a line of dialogue that whole chapter. And it's like his fate is being decided right before his eyes, and he's not a part of it. And that is kind of carried throughout the whole book. Like, this is the one book where things are truly, like, just happening to him. And he pretty much has no agency, even down until the freaking resolution when his mom is like, hey, sweetie, I need you to hold the connection for just a second, and then you need to break free, and then you need to run back to the port key. And Cedric's like, take my body, because that's respectful. And it's like, okay, I can follow directions. I will do this. It's like he never does anything of his own accord in this.
Yeah.
All right, rant over. Okay, so Harry's doing his best. How did we even get here?
How did we get here? I went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
It is so okay. It is too late because Snape is like super convinced that Harry's there. And as a reminder, Snape can read minds. So I don't know if he wasn't paying attention to the minds that were around him. I don't know. I don't know. But Snape can read minds, so he probably should have already known that Harry was here. But as soon as he sees the map, he's like, fucking Harry Potter is here because of the egg and the map. It's all coming together now. So Snape starts like zombie walking up the stairs, like grasping for Harry, like, ew, absolutely disgusting. And Moody's like, are you obsessed with Harry because you want him to die? And like, did you enter him in this contest? And they bicker, and Moody's like, go to bed. And Snape's like, maybe I will go to bed. Fine.
He's like, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah. He does say, I can't find it fast enough, but he literally is like, you're not the boss of me, but in like longer, better words.
You don't have the authority to send me anywhere.
There you go. Thank you so much. So Moody's like, give me the egg too. And Filch is like, but no, it's the only proof I have that Peeves did this thing. And Moody's like, give it to me. So Snape and Filch leave. And then Moody comes over to Harry and is like, oh, that was a pretty close one, bud. What's up? He's like, wow, this is a cool fucking map that I'm not worried about at all. Harry's like, please let me get out of these stairs, dude.
I'm in quite a lot of pain.
So they go back and forth a little bit. Mad-Eye Moody is like, did you see who broke into Snape's office? And Harry says that he's like, you're never going to believe me. This is super weird. You probably weren't expecting this. It was Barty Crouch. And then Mad-Eye Moody is like, that's probably because he's obsessed with dark wizards. You should cast your suspicion on Snape, the dark wizard, perhaps. He says, if there's one thing I hate, it's a Death Eater who walked free. Which is so, so, so interesting. Because it's true that Mad-Eye Moody, I'm sure, feels this way. And it's also true that Barty Crouch Jr. feels this way. If there's one thing he hates, it's a Death Eater who walked free. He fucking hates Snape and Karkaroff because Karkaroff ran. So Mad-Eye Moody, as a reminder, has been like bullying Karkaroff this whole fucking book. And it's because he ran, I think, when Voldemort fell. And Snape has always been two-timing. So Moody's like, bro, this map is so cool. Can I borrow it for teacher stuff? And Harry's like, I wish I could say no to you.
No.
But I definitely can't.
I need it for shenanigans.
I need it for marauding. The audacity of the Marauders to call themselves the Marauders. What are you marauding? So then Mad-Eye Moody is like, hey man, this isn't a distraction at all. You should become an Auror, bro. And Harry's like, an Auror! And he like goes up to bed with like sparkle eyes, thinking about how he's gonna be an Auror someday.
So that's one of my questions with the, you have to, if you're writing this, you have to write it like, okay, because you're trying to fool your audience that this is the real Mr. Moody. Why is the fake Mr. Moody giving Harry like career advice? That's my question. Unless there's something that I just don't know because I'm not as well versed in everything. But
my first thought is that Mad-Eye Moody is trying to make Harry trust him. And Harry's not a discerning adult. He's a 14-year-old with an ego complex. So being like,
okay,
hey,
interesting.
Man, like imagine telling a 14-year-old kid, one who isn't in, I don't know, like a certain kind of 14-year-old kid, like, hey man, you'd make a pretty good like detective or like FBI agent someday.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
That's very flattering.
Yeah, I think it's trying to flatter him. Like, yeah, make him be like, oh wow, he really thinks I'm like a good guy.
In the movie, though, when it's revealed to be David Tennant, it is weird. The idea that guy would be, like, giving him career advice.
It's true. It's true. It's true. Oh, David Tennant, I love you so much.
I love him so fucking much.
So, yeah, Harry goes to bed and he's like, I'm gonna be an Auror. A word you have to pronounce, like, really specifically, because otherwise it's just like, Auror.
It's hard to say.
It's a dumb word.
It's really hard to say.
In an English accent, it's like easier though. You just say aura, right? Like
aura. Oh yeah, I did a trilled R that didn't
aura.
There. It's en español, aura.
Oraro.
But it reminds me of there's a word in English that really bothers me, and it's aural. Aural. It means like having to do with the ear, and I hate it.
Oh yeah,
because it's like oral. But it's like aural.
Aural, yeah.
It's just the worst word.
Our words are hard.
It's bad. It's bad. Just stop doing it. The letter R is like barely even a consonant. It's called like an approximate because you don't put your tongue and your teeth anywhere specific when you articulate it like other consonants. It's an approximate. Oh. So that's why it doesn't feel like you're really getting a good consonant in there. It's because you're not. It's just like R. You can be like doing a vowel while you're doing the R sound. Whatever. I'm going to stop. That's the end of the chapter. Was there anything that we missed that you want to touch back on? Are there any themes you want to drive home? Any last minute thoughts, Maddie?
I just have one kind of general thought, which I assume in our lifetime, knock on wood, we're gonna get some sort of reboot of this series. And I feel like the fans need Peeves.
Yeah.
We need Peeves.
We need him.
I think that Peeves could be done well today, but I do always like to remind people that Peeves was shot for Sorcerer's Stone. There was an actor who played Peeves
I know, yeah.
I think it was just too fucking weird to have a grown adult man farting in kids' faces.
Well, I mean, maybe you could refine the details, but
yes, I think there's a way to do it.
I feel like, and kind of going back to Myrtle, I feel like ghosts in general in the visual adaptation of this series are kind of like, we need more of that. We need more ghosts.
Yeah, and I mean, computer graphics have come so far since fucking Sorcerer's Stone in 2001.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I think that it would be a lot easier to capture a more poltergeisty Peeves than we could have done in 2001. In the Scholastic, the United States Scholastic editions, the chapter headers, there's one in, I think, Sorcerer's Stone, but definitely one of the earlier books where there's this image of Peeves, and he looks like kind of trolly, like kind of gremlin-y. He's definitely not very human-like, so I think that something like that would be, like, way more appropriate for the kind of shenanigans he does, rather than just, like, a British comedian.
Somebody who's still alive from Monty Python.
Right, exactly. So I'll post a link to that in the show notes, and I'd love to hear what the listeners think about that, about the best way to do a Peeves adaptation. Leela, did you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just I love little details like Maddie, you were talking about just like kind of how the movies kind of sort of missed the mark a little bit with the design of the castle. And I love like the details that really like just give me like all the feels and like bring me into the story are like, remember it's like the second page in the chapter. They like there's a statue of someone called Boris the Bewildered.
Yes, I also wrote that down. I wrote that detail down of like,
That's awesome.
no, there's a bunch of little fun details like that, you know, like world expanding stuff that is in the books that I feel like in a I don't know, a reboot or a TV series you could
A TV series especially, yeah, because you could like really like do like a mini series and get like a lot more into stuff. I get it, like transferring any kind of media to another kind of media, like it's not ever going to please anyone and it's not going to go perfectly.
No.
But yeah, there's more they could have done.
Over on My Cabbages, which is the Avatar The Last Airbender podcast that's on our network, they had a bonus episode that came out last week that I was on about the Golden Compass movie, which is adapted from the His Dark Materials series, and it's like a fantasy trilogy. And the Golden Compass movie was like, let's adapt book 1 into movie 1. But there's also a TV show that came out like 15, 20 years later, whatever. And it's like, we were talking in that episode about how really, honestly, for the most part, fantasy should not be adapted into film because there's not enough room to do world building and
it's
plot.
hard. It's
so hard. And like, I mean, Harry Potter's different because Sorcerer's Stone was really short and it's mostly world building in and of itself. So you have like a lot more time. But like what you can do is you can go full Peter Jackson and be like, I'm going to do 4-hour movies to try to get this all together. Or you do fucking The Golden Compass and you just destroy the source material in your adaptation. Or like Percy Jackson, just destroy the source material in your adaptation. And nobody wants that. So TV shows are where it's at.
Well, I guess it's kind of a funny thing about this genre. And I was actually thinking about this the other day, coincidentally. It was like, you know, does anybody like, I mean, I'm talking about like Lord of the Rings fans. I'm not talking about the casual just film watcher. Is there anybody that like wishes they were shorter, right? Isn't part of the enjoyment of that is kind of indulging in the length of it? So I'm wondering like, can these be too short, too long?
I think there is the Lord of the Rings viewer who wishes it was shorter, but it's like, I'm not that person.
Yeah, I think a true Tolkien fan is like soaking up every second of it.
They're probably like, this isn't nearly enough.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is a hard sell to do what Peter Jackson did, for sure. I think it's a hard sell. And I think it has to, if you're going to be like, I'm going to make a 3.5-hour movie, I think it like has to be Lord of the Rings. Like maybe Harry Potter. Like I don't think there's other book series that have enough clout to really warrant that kind of investment. I don't know. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting to think about, like, how do you best adapt these things?
Yeah, it's hard.
I want a TV show about the Marauders, honestly, because I think that would be so fucking fun. And I think that there would be great opportunities for exploring diversity in this world if we took it back there. I saw some fan art that I'll link in the show notes that pictured a very adorable, super chubby Lily doing Sirius Black's hair, like back in the Marauder days, and I'm in love with it. I love it so much. And I'm sorry that I forget who the artist is, but I will link it in the show notes. Okay, cool. So are we ready to move on to some plugs?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I would love to start by plugging our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can join our Discord community, and me and Leela hang out there all the time, and it's a super fun place to be. We also release for certain tiers monthly bonus episodes, and this month's bonus episode came out last Saturday, and it covered the movie Horns, starring Daniel Radcliffe. That's the connection. It was a great movie. Leela, I know you and Jason enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Jason Hilton was on that episode along with Brooke. So please check us out over on our Patreon. The link is in the show notes. Maddie, please tell us where people can find you on the internet, what projects you're working on, what's going on.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I'm actually like right now, I'm moving to Los Angeles.
Congrats.
Oh, yeah. I have boxes, like my apartment is just boxes right now. So I'm a little in between projects, but I have a couple small things I can plug. The best way to find me on socials is Instagram, and that's Madeleine Bundy, spelled with 3 E's like the cookie. So there is this really lovely website that my friend owns called jordandene.com. She designs like fun, like nerdy, geeky, but like also like kind of subtle like t-shirts. And I've actually designed a bunch of t-shirts for her recently. So there are, if you are a Trek fan, I designed a bunch of her Trek shirts. And then if you like the prequels, whether you actually like them or you like them ironically, I'm doing a couple prequel shirts for her. So by the time this podcast comes out, there should be like 3 up online, and then we're doing a couple more later. So that's jordandene.com. And she's just a really lovely person. It's a really lovely
That's
business to
extremely
support.
awesome.
Hell yeah.
I didn't know you did like graphic design like that too.
You know, it's maybe, I don't know if it's my strongest, like, I don't know if it's my strongest thing, but
That's
I
so
like
cool.
to work on it.
That's so cool. I'm so excited to check those out. And that's, of course, linked in the show notes.
Oh yeah, so sorry. I also just designed some puppets for this YouTuber named Patrick Willems. He has a YouTube channel called Patrick Willems Explains. If you're a film nerd, he does really lovely film essays. He made his own movie this year, or sort of worked on it like kind of all during quarantine. There's a puppet sequence in it that I designed that I literally made with like very little budget. It's all like cardboard and paint, but it looks amazing. If I can toot my own horn a little bit, it looks way. I'm saying that because it looks way better than I thought it was gonna look. That movie is going up. You can find it through his YouTube channel, Patrick Willems.
Awesome. That's so
Explains.
cool. And that's linked in the show notes as well. Maddie, what is something that you've been, I know you're in transition between homes between fucking coasts right now, but what is something that you have read or watched or listened to or played recently that you think our listeners would enjoy?
Oh my gosh. If I can plug something very silly, but very like heartwarming and has just like made this like packing experience, very stressful packing experience, so much better. The reboot of Saved by the Bell is so funny. Wow. I think like everybody probably does go into it with like kind of low expectations, but like, you know, it's like a high school teen comedy, obviously, but they have the joke, like the joke telling is like 30 Rock level.
Dang.
Like they got really good comedy writers, and like the cast is all like, they're great actors, but they're also like great comedians. Specifically like Josie Tota is just like one of my maybe my favorite actress on TV right now. She's so funny, and if you need like a little pick me up, it's just like an easy thing to throw on that I think will make your day/week.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
happy.
I didn't even know they were rebooting, so I'm really excited to check it out.
It's so fun, and a bunch of you do not have to watch the original show. A bunch of the actors are in it, but like it's really not. It sounds like it's going to be a nostalgia machine, and it's really its own.
That's
thing.
amazing. Yeah. That's all you can hope for.
And they make fun of the old show for kind of being like corny and terrible. They're like, the actors have a kind of a
good for them.
Good
That's awesome
about it.
I love that. Yeah, Leela, where can people find you on the internet?
Hello, listeners. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Leels for Reels. Oh, and you can also hear me most Sundays with the Movie Night Crew, which is our network's namesake. Just me and Tina and a bunch of our friends from Restricted Section and other friends as well. We'll just get together every Sunday night and watch sometimes a randomly selected movie, sometimes a carefully curated movie.
Last Sunday we released Jason's birthday pick only 2 months after his birthday, and for his movie he chose to watch the first episode of Twin Peaks, which is like an hour and a half long, so that's a very funny one.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a throwback.
So just some funky things like that. Just like interesting to kind of learn about, if you're interested to learn about new movies, and just like hear a bunch of goofballs just shoot the shit, then it's really enjoyable. And today I am plugging 2 different things. I want to plug a show that I feel like at this point most of us have seen. If not, you definitely should. It's I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Yes,
I love it. I love it.
I will say, like,
so funny.
So I love comedy, and there's not much that really like shocks me and surprises me anymore in terms of comedy. But this show does it. It actually came out in 2019, and it's just like a really funny sketch comedy. Mm-hmm. It's like silly, grotesque. Yes, and it's like it will be like that. It'll just like live in your head. It's got that like kind of like cringy, like Lonely Island humor, because those are the guys who also helped produce it. It's
nice.
So and I have kind of definitely like a soft spot for those guys. It literally makes me cry and pee from laughing. So what else can you ask for? You know, like That's the best experience you can have. Definitely go watch it. I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. It's on Netflix. And I'd also like to plug, there's a local company. We live here in Richmond, Virginia. There's a company in Norfolk, Virginia called Sugar and Grace Company. It is a Black woman-owned candle making and skincare business, and they make these gorgeous all natural soy candles with like the awesome, like the nice crackly wood burning wicks. And I have the current one I'm working on right now is it's called what's it called? Coquita season. So it just like smells like a cinnamon eggnog delicious party at my house at all times. And these candles last forever. Like they're a little more on the expensive side, I would say, but like I burn through a shit ton of candles, and this baby's lasted me like pretty much the entire holiday season.
That's awesome.
Definitely check them out. They're a great little locally run business, and you'll enjoy their product.
I've been your host, Christina. You know where to find me on the internet. This week I'm going to plug Murderville on Netflix.
Yes, I also watch this. I also love it. I watch a lot of television.
That is okay. You're in good company. It is just a really unique TV show, which I don't get to say very often. It is Will Arnett is a detective, and every episode he gets assigned a murder case, and his quote unquote new partner every episode is like a random celebrity. So it's like, hey, this is your new Will Arnett goes by Terry Seattle in this. No! So they're like, he's like, I've never been. So they're like, hey, Detective Seattle, here's your new partner, Conan O'Brien. And he's like, oh, what's up, Conan? Nice to meet you. We're going to solve this murder. And it's the whole murder investigation is improv. And at the end, they make the guest guess who did the murder out of 3 suspects. And it's fucking amazing. It's so funny.
Can I just say, I won't spoil anything, just that like Sharon Stone.
I haven't watched that one yet. I'm going to go watch it right now.
They all have their own sort of take on how they handle the improv, but like Sharon Stone is just so
awesome.
invested.
I'm excited. Maddie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so nice to meet you.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
And we're so honored you came on the show.
This was so fun. I really appreciate it.
Yes. And thank you, just one more time, thank you so much for Puffs, because it's truly a beautiful piece of work.
Oh my gosh, it was a lot of work. It was very stressful. So to hear that it worked and people liked it is just that's really nice for me.
Yeah, it really spoke to me as a Harry Potter fan. Like, it really spoke to me.
That's so nice.
And I'll say, like, Maddie, like, even just speaking for our whole Discord, like, that your play has really like affected a lot of us in just such a huge way.
That's so nice.
Yeah, even those of us who aren't Puffs, it's just like really great to see Harry Potter portrayed in that way. And especially hearing that you did the set design is just like blowing my mind right now, because I'm thinking about so many things that I loved.
That's so clever.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry. I was like, we're gonna try to not compliment your face off, but failed.
No, I appreciate. I am not good at doing it to myself, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and like honestly, especially in today's age when, there's so many complications with the author of Harry Potter, and it's really hard. It's hard to feel good about partaking in Harry Potter stuff, but it's the fan-made stuff that makes it so that this fandom can keep on living without her.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And Leila, as always, thank you so much for being my co-pilot.
Anytime, baby.
All right, gang, I gotta go finish reading Butterbeer for the Teenage Soul by Cyber Toaster before this book starts weeping. Bye!
Bye!
The Restricted Section is thrilled to be a member of the Movie Night Crew podcast network, which features amazing other podcasts such as My Cabbages, an Avatar podcast. My Cabbages is an Avatar The Last Airbender podcast that was started by 2 lovable nerds during a global pandemic to stave off their inevitable existential crisis.
Coffee, tea, honor, cabbage. Long ago, the 4 elements lived in harmony. Then, shit went totally cray when the Avatar attacked. Only the Cabbage Man, merchant of fine cruciferous vegetables, could stand against his trolling. But when the world needed some dank veg, he vanished. 10 years have passed, and my partner and I have started a new podcast.
My cabbages! An Avatar podcast.
A weekly show about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Whether it's Sokka's new line of cologne.
Hey, look at you, sitting there on a seal. Well, now look back at me. I'm on an even bigger seal. Now look away.
D&D related antics.
You have to make an acrobatics check for that, and Aang just like unzips his pants and whips out his d20s. He's just like, I got this.
Or randomly breaking into song.
Go bending waterfall.
We'll stumble our way through the greatest show ever made, one episode at a time.
You can reach us at CabbageCast, which is our Twitter, or
subscribe wherever you catch pod.
Rotten cabbages? What kind of slum do you think this is?
The Restricted section was created by me, Christina Kann, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. All music by Ryan Kahn. Logo by Michael Hardison. Support us on patreon.com/restricted section. For as little as $1 a month, you can gain access to our Discord community server, which is a really happy place to be. And there are other rewards as well, such as bonus episodes and Zoom happy hour hangouts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod, on Twitter at Restricted Pod, and on Facebook at Restricted Section Pod. Also, feel free to shoot us an email at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com to share your thoughts, feelings, complaints, conspiracy theories, or even lavish praise. That is like one of the laws of our podcast, that every episode starts with technical difficulties.
That movie sucked. I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.